Hello everyone, this is Mr. Martinez, and today we're going to learn about life on the Arabian Peninsula, learning to adapt, and again, for those of you who are an avid, what was life on the Arabian Peninsula and how did it begin? For those of you who just want to learn about different things, welcome. If you enjoy what you're learning, if you enjoy the style in which I teach, obviously like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff, so more people can have the opportunity to learn and grow in historical knowledge. Alright, so let's begin. Obviously in this initial slide you can see camels, you can see an oasis. So we're looking at an environment that is very desert-like. And this is important because this is the area that many beliefs developed, but specifically Islam. Started on the Arabian Peninsula in Arabia. And I refer you to my History of Islam video if you'd like to learn more. Let's begin. All right. So what does it mean to adapt? Obviously, when we're learning things, one of the most important things to learn is vocabulary. Words mean things. And sadly, it seems people always are trying to change the meanings of things. And you need to have a historical perspective on word choices and word meaning so you don't get yourself in trouble. And when I mean trouble, I mean so that people understand you. So, what does it mean to adapt? When he moved from Alaska to Hawaii, he had to adapt to his new environment. Boy, would that be an interesting adaptation. Alaska, northern climate, short summers, long winters, to Hawaii, which is tropical. It does snow on the higher elevation mountains, but most of the time it's sunny, tropical, humid weather. So you would have to adapt. And that means you would change the way you do things because you are in a new situation. When you adapt, you can change something so that you can use it in a different way. For example, there are many items that I use, and it may not be the intended use of them, but then you think, this might work. So I'll give you an example. I have a music stand that I use, and normally you'd put music on it. You play an instrument, you put the music that you're going to play. But I use music stands like I would a table. I organize everything out. Everything is where I need to find it, and I have found it is very helpful. So I have adapted an item for a different use. For the people who lived on the Arabian Peninsula in the Middle Ages, they adapted to living in a difficult environment. Living in a desert is not easy. Obviously, you need water and you need food, and the desert usually doesn't provide either of them. But you can find it. So let's continue. So how did people adapt? Well, they developed a nomadic way of life. A nomad is a member of a group of people that move from place to find food. So those living in the desert became nomadic, or were nomadic, and they would go from place to place trying to find food. And if you actually do this, you can survive. You won't survive staying in one area, but you can survive if you go following the food, following the climate, when there's storms, what have you, because it does rain in the desert at times. And when it does, it's usually thunderstorms. But you can survive, but as a nomad. Okay, so the clothing of desert nomads in Arabia was limited. Men and women wore loose-fitting ankle-length gowns. So if anyone ever wondered why the outfits people wear in Arabia look the way they do, this is why. The gowns acted as an air conditioner. When the people moved, cool air moved around their bodies and helped them. Actually cooled them. Okay? And if you've ever been like swimming in a pool and it's really hot, but you jump in, you jump out, the cool air rushes across your body. There you go. It's the same idea. Nomads lived in tents made of black goat hair. It could easily be moved. I often ask what other culture or group had tents that were easily moved. And the name should jump up, the Plains Indians. Native Americans, indigenous people, whatever they call them nowadays. They keep changing the terminology, hence what I said at the beginning. But for our purposes, the Native American Plains Indians, they were the ones who had the teepees that they could move because they followed the buffalo herds. They were nomadic as well. So a culture far away in a completely different continent developed similarly. That's one of the most coolest things about learning history is when you realize how many cultures, how many groups of people are similar. And yet people always try to look at the differences when we should be looking at the similarities so that we can live on this planet in peace and harmony instead of always trying to say someone's different or what have you. There are differences, but getting along, being respectful is the most important thing. And I'm always going to emphasize that. So, this group of people in Arabia were nomadic, just like the Native Americans were in North America, specifically the Central Plains. All right. Camels were the nomads' most important possession. Obviously, you got to have an animal that can go some places, and the camel is highly suited towards desert life. They were their means of transportation, food, leather, and wool. And just like the buffalo was for the Native Americans. It's totally cool how this transpired. Just truly, truly amazing. How both cultures used an animal for all their needs. Awesome. Camels can go for days without water, can shut their nostrils against windblown sand, and the pads on their feet keep them from sinking. So it's like they were designed to be in the desert. Very interesting within itself. Just throw that thought out at you. But yeah, camels are like perfect for the nomadic way of life in the desert. So we go on. Now we have a sedentary way of life. Oh, what's this? Looks like an oasis. What can this mean? Sedentary, a type of person who lives in one place. Possibly these nomadic tribes saw these oases and thought, why go all over the place when we can stay here and farm? In Arabia, this way of life grew around the oasis where fresh water was available. Now, a lot of people don't realize this. There's been a lot of documentaries as of late, but there is water in the desert. It's just underground. Oftentimes there's whole rivers, and when it pokes through, that's where you have an oasis. So you have plant life. People who look for water to grow food and such, they look for these underwater rivers and they tap into them, and boom, you got yourself an area where you can water, farm, do a lot of things. Okay, Arabia is no different. So water made the farming of an oasis land possible. You could grow things. Now specifically, what did they grow? Dates, not the kinds you go on. Dates were one of Arabs' chief foods and were also a main trade item. Okay? So you would farm things that are native to the land that you could eat, that you could trade to get the items that you needed. In economic terms, a medium of exchange. Nomads would come to the oasis to trade goods with the villagers. Items to be traded included camel meat, yum, camel milk, spices, perfumes, precious metals, ivory, and silk. So you got your makings of a trade center. You got your makings of people interacting with each other. And look at the stuff. Perfumes, precious metals like gold and silver, ivory, silk. I mean, just amazing. It's one of the reasons why I love teaching history is, man, there's just so much to know. It's not just what most people think it is. It's so much. And just knowing this just opens your eyes to different cultures and peoples and learning. Truly amazing. Leaders in the Oasis village became Arab leaders throughout the region because of the wealth that trading gave them. So now they're able to expand, to lead, and you start seeing different forms of government evolve, if you want to use that term. So very, very interesting. The groups of families were called clans. Unite the clans. You've got to do it. Braveheart. Anyway, groups of families were called clans. Notice how even in Arabia they had groups, family groups. Interesting how different peoples around the world develop the same way. Maybe there should be less division and more harmony. Anyway, the nomads and villagers cooperated to make their society run smoothly. Notice cooperated, underline. Both groups relied on each other for needed supplies and trade items. Very important. All right. The Arabian Peninsula was a good location for trade. Ideas, products, religion all spread due to the many trade routes going through the Arabian Peninsula. And here's a map. You can see the area we're talking about. An awesome trade center. You can see present-day Turkey, which is where the Byzantine Empire was during this time. Egypt, present-day Saudi Arabia, which is the Arabian Peninsula. By the way, if you didn't know what a peninsula was, I'm going to say it here. Peninsula is a body of land surrounded on three sides of water with water. For those of you who never learned geography, and sadly that happens today, but now you know what a peninsula is. Body of land surrounded on three sides by water. And if you look at Arabia, three sides: Red Sea, Arabian Sea, and the Gulf of... I can't see what it says there, but the Persian Gulf. That's what it is. All right, let's continue. This brings us to the city of Mecca. Obviously, in relation to the religion of Islam, very important. Again, refer you to my other video. Mecca was important as a trading center. It was also important for religion as well. Many people came to worship in Mecca at the shrine called the Kaaba. So before Muhammad came and founded the religion of Islam, the Kaaba was used as a shrine where many people worshipped different gods, among whom was the moon god named Allah. I'll just let you think about that for a moment. But Arabs believed in many gods. They were polytheistic, and the Kaaba became the shrine they worshipped at. Islam would change that. And obviously here's a picture of the Kaaba in Mecca, where Muslims go. And you can see all this sea of white. Those are all people in the ceremonial gowns they wear. So truly, truly amazing. So the reason I bring up Allah and the moon god is because historically that's the name of the god that was worshipped at the Kaaba. Obviously Muslims worship Allah, and the symbol is a moon. And some historians believe that that's may have been how Muhammad got the name. Again, a believing, practicing Muslim is going to think differently. And again, we want to respect those beliefs. But historically, that's where things came from. It's no different in Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism. All beliefs have origins, have historical beginnings. And it's important that people understand that. That's why you learn, one of the classes you can take in college is comparative religions. You learn about it all. and not to slam or disagree with, but to learn about different religions. Is there a true religion? Is there something that is objectively true? Everyone has to come to that realization. So the purposes of our lesson here is not to come to that, just something to think about. That's what, for me, teaching history is about: thinking, reasoning, figuring things out, contemplating, and obviously learning. So, again, City of Mecca, very important. Conclusion! Short lesson. Geography, economy, and culture all played a role in the development of the Arabian Peninsula. Cannot stress that enough. Living in the desert was difficult, but helped in the spread of Islam and other religions of the time. The city of Mecca was a center of trade and religion, very important. Christianity and Judaism were also in the area, and it was in this area that Muhammad was born. See that connection? Ideas, products, religion all spread due to the many trade routes going through the Arabian Peninsula. And that's what happened. Cultures interacted, people interacted, ideas, and many years later, we're still interacting, conversing, talking with different people around the world. And again, I want to encourage everyone. This is important. I'll leave you with this. People have many disagreements. People have many ideas and beliefs. That's fine. Be respectful. If you believe you're correct, be able to substantiate your beliefs in a cohesive manner, not using ad hominem attacks on others. Debate is good. Talking is good. Hashing out ideas is good. But be respectful. If someone disagrees, hey, they disagree. If you believe they're completely wrong, then you believe they're completely wrong. They might believe you're completely wrong. But we have to learn to communicate and be respectful of each other. So, that concludes this lesson on the Arabian Peninsula. Again, if you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, share, and enjoy your learning. I encourage you to look at my other videos and keep learning. Thank you so much. Mr. Martinez, Mr. Ram,